Hi, good morning everyone. My name is Harshita and today I am here to present on the topic actioning child safe standards in early childhood education. Before I begin, I would like to briefly introduce what this topic means. Actioning child safe standards in early childhood education means making sure that children are always safe, protected and respected. It is one of the most important responsibilities we have as educators. Children have the right to feel secure and supported in every environment they are a part of. The child safe standards are guidelines that help educators, families, and early learning centers create spaces where children feel welcome, heard, and cared of. Now that I have introduced the topic, let me give you a quick overview of what I will be talking about in this presentation. First, I will introduce the Victorian Child Safe Standards and explain why they are important in early childhood education. Next, I will focus on three selected standards Standard 1, Standard 3, and Standard 5 and explain what they mean. Then I will move on to a policy and literature analysis where I will share what research and current policies say about these standards. After that, I will discuss how these standards are applied in practice by educators and early learning centers. I will also talk about some challenges that educators might face while implementing these standards and share a few strategies that can help overcome them. Finally, I will end with a short personal reflection on what I have learned from this topic and why it matters to me as a future educator. Now, let's move to slide 3, which is about the Victorian Child Safe Standards. These standards were created to help protect children's safety, well being, and rights. They are mandatory in early childhood education, which means that every educator and center must follow them. The goal is to make sure every child feels safe and included, no matter their background or experience. It's all about building a strong, caring culture where children can thrive. Now, moving to slide 4, why does child safety really matter in early childhood education? Well, children are still growing, learning, and understanding the world around them. They are vulnerable and depend on us to keep them safe. When children have trusting relationships with their educators, they feel more confident and comfortable. Child safety is not just about protecting from harm, it's also about creating an environment where children feel secure, happy, and free to explore. Let's move to slide 5, which is about Standard 1 culturally safe environments. This standard focuses on making sure every child's culture, identity, and background are respected and valued, especially Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children. It's about creating a space where all children feel like they belong, where their unique experiences are honored, and where culture is not just acknowledged but celebrated. Now, on to slide 6. Why is Standard 1 important in early childhood settings? When children see their language, food, traditions, or family stories reflected in the classroom, they feel more comfortable and confident. It also helps to build stronger connection with families and the wider community. Most importantly, it supports the child's sense of belonging, identity, and self worth, which is key for their emotional development. Let's move to slide 7, where we look at how we can apply Standard 1 in our everyday practice. We can include multicultural books, music, and toys in our classrooms, celebrate culture events and holidays from different backgrounds, involve families in sharing their culture, stories, and traditions, and make sure educators get training in cultural awareness and competence. These small Move to slide 8. Let's look at what policies support standard 1. We have the Early Childhood Australia Code of Ethics, which promotes inclusion. The National Quality Frameworks, especially Quality Areas 1 and 6, and the Early Year Learning Framework EYLF, which highlights cultural competence as part of quality teaching. All of these support educators in building culturally safe environments. On slide 9, we look at the challenges. Some of the issues include limited training for educators around cultural safety, misunderstandings or lack of support from families, and the underrepresentation of minority voices in decision making. These are real challenges, but they are not impossible to overcome. Now, on to slide 10. How can we solve these challenges? We can provide ongoing professional development for staff, hire diverse educators who bring new perspectives, partner with local cultural organizations for support, and regularly reflect on our practices to make sure we are doing the best we can. Let's now move on to slide 11, which introduces Standard 3, Empowering Children. This standard says that children should be taught about their rights, be involved in decisions, and be taken seriously when they express their thoughts or feelings. Even the youngest children have opinions and emotions that matter, and we need to listen. On slide 12, we look at why Standard 3 is important. When we empower children, we help them build confidence, independence, and resilience. They learn that their voice matters and they are more likely to speak up when something doesn't feel right. Now, on to slide 13. How do we apply this in real life? We can use child friendly language to talk about rights, let children make choices in their learning and play, create spaces where children can express themselves through art, storytelling, or talk, and truly listen to them, not just hear them. This helps them feel safe, confident, and respected. On slide 14, we look at policies that support Standard 3. These include the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, the Early Childhood Australia Code of Ethics, and the National Quality Standard, especially Quality Area 5, which focuses on relationships with children. These policies remind us that children have voices that need to be heard and respected. Now, let's move to next slide where we look at some of the challenges. Some children may not have the language to express how they feel. Educators may have biases or unintentionally overlook children's opinions, and sometimes there are lack of resources to teach children about their right in creative ways. So, on next slide, let's look at the solutions. We can use visual tools like storybooks and emotion charts, offer training on children's rights and voice, encourage reflective practice so educators always think about how to include and empower children. When we make Now, let's move on to slide 17, which introduces standard 5 reporting responding to complaint and concerns. This standard focuses on making sure that all educators and staff are trained in how to respond when someone shares a concern about a child's safety. It means acting when something doesn't feel right and making sure children and families know that their voices will be heard and respected. Moving on to slide 18. Why is this standard important? Well, it helps build trust and transparency with families. When concerns are taken seriously, it, it shows that the center values child safety and is ready to act. It also prevents small issues from becoming bigger problems and helps children feel heard, respected, and always protected. On slide 19, let's talk about how we can apply Standard 5 in practice. We can create clear reporting procedures that everyone understands, use simple language and visual aids to help families and children understand how to speak up, train all staff on mandatory reporting and what steps to take, and provide feedback loops to families so they know their concerns are being addressed. Now, on to slide 20. What policies support this standard? Some key ones include the National Quality Framework, especially Quality Areas 2 and 7, the Child Safe Standards Guidelines, which give us best practices, and the Reportable Conduct Scheme in Victoria, which makes it clear that concerns must be followed up. These policies help keep children safe and hold adults accountable. On slide 21, let's be honest, there are challenges too. Sometimes families or staff feel afraid to speak up, especially if they think no one will listen. There can also be confusion about the reporting process, who to talk to, what to say, or when to act. And in busy settings, finding the time to follow up quickly can be hard. But we can solve these problems. Let's look at slide 22. We can set up anonymous feedback options so people feel safe sharing concerns. Review our complaint processes regularly to keep them clear and current. And practice real life scenarios with staff so they feel confident about how to respond when needed. With the right support and preparation, we can make sure every concern leads to action. Now, let's go to slide 23, where I will share some final takeaways from this presentation. Child safety is everyone's responsibility in early childhood education. The child safe standards are not just rules, they are foundation of good caring teaching. Educators must be proactive, kind, and culturally aware. Children's voices should always be heard, respected, and included. Working together with families and communities makes strong safety stronger. Ongoing training and self reflection help us grow as professionals. And most importantly, a safe space is where every child can grow, learn, and feel proud of who they are. Finally, on slide 24, I would like to share a personal reflection. Engaging deeply with the child safe standards has made me more aware of the vital role I play in protecting children's rights and well being in early childhood education. I now truly understand that child safety is not just about policies, it's about how we build trust, listen closely, and create environments where every child feels respected and safe. I have heard that children's voices matter, and it's my responsibility to encourage them to speak up and be part of decisions that affect them. I also recognize how important it is to celebrate each child's culture and identity and to make sure that every family feels included and valued. Going forward, I am committed to being an educator who not only protects children but also empowers them. I will keep learning, keep listening, and always stand up for fairness, inclusion, and the right of every child to feel safe, seen, and heard. Thank you so much for listening.